And thanks for watching Morning Live. Now, the South African Social Security Agency, or SASSA, is compelled to change the dates of the social grant payments due to social distancing. Older citizens will be able to collect their social grants on the 4th of May, and people living with disabilities who are receiving social grants will do that on the 6th. Now, according to SASSA, this decision was made in a bid to avoid chaos at pay points and also to maintain social distancing. And joining us now via Skype is Totsie Memela, who's the CEO of SASSA. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Ms. Memela.
A very good morning, ma'am.
Perhaps I should give you an opportunity to, in your own words, just outline exactly how the payment system is going to be rolled out come May.
It's very important to clarify that, first, there's a difference between an access point and a pay point. An access point is all the areas where our people go to access either buying food or getting cash, which is in a range of places that you and me are also able to go. So what we had to look at what happened in the previous month, where there was pandemonium and the elderly were not respected at all in terms of being given space. We then took a decision to actually separate the files because previously the files were not separated. So we've separated the files of when the elderly and persons with disabilities will get paid, and they will get paid separate from those that are receiving child grant. Because the 3rd is on a Sunday, it therefore means that they will be paid on the 4th, which is actually the Monday. On Monday and Tuesday, only the people that are receiving persons with disabilities and elderly persons are the only ones that will have the money in their bank account. The money in the bank accounts of only those that have got children, which is the child support grant and any other grant, which, for example, would include those grants that people get when they are staying with children, will be received on the 5th. If you are an elderly person, you are receiving your grant on the 4th or the 5th, and you've got children, all those grants will be paid in your account at the same time, so that you don't make the elderly actually go to receive their grant twice. They would receive all their grants at the same time. So that's the process that we've put in place, again, to make sure that we protect the vulnerable.
Ms. Memela, and I'm sure this is a point that you understand and would perhaps appreciate better than most, the fact that social grant payments for April were brought forward to the 30th of March, which makes this more than a month. And many people actually do live from grant payment to grant payment. Isn't that going to place a bit of strain on them?
This was not a decision that was taken easily, because we understand that those people, particularly the elderly, look forward to this grant, and it's, in many instances, it's the only income they have. We had to also look at the fact that their health is very important, and we're putting in place processes whereby we can make sure that when they get to these payment places, they can be protected. When you pay at the end of the month, they then have to compete with everybody else in terms of being able to access the access points, to be able to do their shopping. So we didn't take this decision very lightly, but we needed to make sure that we protect their health and particularly protect those that are vulnerable.
But surely, Ms. Memela, you can protect their health by making sure that the money is deposited into their account so they have access to it. Whether they actually make their way personally to those access points or not is another story, but shouldn't they at least have access to that money on the date which they usually do expect to have it?
I think it's easier said than done to say once they have access, it therefore means they can go any other time, as we saw what actually happened last month, because we understand that the pandemonium is as a result of the fact that they have a desperate need at the time when the money hits the account. That's the reason why they go on day one. So as I said earlier, it's not a decision that was taken earlier, but easy. But we do understand that and are empathetic to the fact that the need is huge and the need is definitely there. but also their health is equally important.
So will you be doing anything to sort of bridge the gap, as it were, of those days where they would, if people budget, from one grant payment to another grant payment, that means there will be a few days in between there. Will there be any sort of relief that would be available?
We are engaging all other different structures, for example, in the provinces where there is support in terms of not necessarily the food parcels that come from SASSA, because those are dedicated to those that actually don't receive a grant, but we're engaging all the other different structures in the provinces to see as to what support can be provided.
And given that you moved the payment date slightly forward last month, what sort of problems did you encounter? And do you think that these new dates will again cause some sort of confusion among social grant recipients?
I think the problem that we encountered last month, again, because we had not separated the files, despite having pleaded with those that are receiving single children child support grants, they also went at the same time together with the elderly. Hence, we've actually separated it this time. And as a result, there was pandemonium. And this is what we experienced in the previous month. And we, despite our plea to requesting that the other people should not go together with the elderly, there was a problem. The other problem that we encountered was the fact that in many of the shopping places outside the shopping center, you would find that there was pushing of the elderly. What we're looking at together with the retailers is what is it that we need as additional support, and we're engaging other stakeholders from the security side to make sure that we can also get support and that the elderly can get protection, particularly the elderly and people with disabilities on the first and second day.
Now, Ms. Memela, these changes in dates, is this going to be a permanent fixture?
We will, going forward, pay on the third day of the month. This time it's the fourth day because, again, the third is actually on a Sunday and not necessarily during the week, and it will ease the burden across in terms of making sure that the retailers are able to provide special support for our beneficiaries.
And then, given that many communities are in dire need at the moment of food parcels, is there a way to ensure that the recipients will be safe as they go to collect these? Or is there any other way in which you can try and get these to the families in a more efficient way?
I think the thinking is that rather than giving people food parcels, is to look at other alternative mechanisms, which is part of the things that we do in terms of our regulation. But we're beginning to look at opportunities of fast-tracking it in terms of looking at vouchers, looking at cash, rather than just focusing on food parcels. But with regards to the social grant payment, we pay the money in the individual's accounts, and they have a choice in terms of where it is that they can actually do their shopping. So there's no reason why people cannot shop closer to where they live. And we are engaging other stakeholders within government to look at making sure that we have infrastructure in communities where people can be able to use a digital infrastructure than actually using cash. But again, this is an education issue that we need to engage our people on, because in many instances they want the cash in their hand despite the money being in their account.
Ms. Memela, I have many questions which I won't get to, but one from our viewers who wants to know how much does each of those packs actually cost, the food parcels, and is there a standard composition for those food parcels?
I think it's very important to understand that there's different people that are providing food parcels out there in the community. The food parcel that we provide as SASSA, in terms of what we've agreed on with our supplier, is that the food parcel is just over 1,000 rand, and the additional cost, which is about 200 rands, would go towards ensuring that the food gets to the people, packaging and the transport. Those are the other things that it covers. But it's very important for people not to confuse what we provide compared to what everybody else provides.
And just a very last question, what goes into that food parcel for that price?
I don't have the list in front of me, but I can be able to even put it on or send it through to you to put it on the website, so that when people get our food parcel, they can compare and see as to whether all the items are inside that food parcel.
All right, we have to leave it there, unfortunately, out of time. Thanks for your time, Totsie Memela, the CEO of SASSA, for talking to us about the decision to change the dates of social grants. And remember, the payment will be for the month of May on the 4th. And for people living with disabilities who are receiving social grants, it will be on the 6th. So please take note of those particular dates. We are going to we're going to headlines. We're into that sort of time.